years, man. 10 years. 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah. This your girl Quay. Hosting on the corner. Carrie's Corner. Okay. Live from the Mecca. MC, microphone checker. My mic sound nice. We gon' set it off like Carrie on the corner, on the 12s. Worldwide through the internet, body the rest. We body set, kill the stage, murk the tell I. Ride till I die, so fly. FYI, my red bottoms covered with the skull from the last shit. I try to talk slick, we don't play that ish. We play that hit, back to back for the public. Valentine flow, when I let go, they love it.
Oh my god, hurry up. Pass me the phone. Come on. Oh my god, hi Carrie. This is me, I'm Beauty. And it's Dominique Nicole. Already know DJ the rapper. Go ahead, Carrie. Tell it like it is, boy. Go ahead, Carrie. Tell it like it is, boy. Go ahead, Carrie. Tell it like it is, boy. Go ahead, Carrie. Tell it like it is, boy.
Tell it like it is through your radio. Fully syndicated, funny for the silly folks. Always keep it positive, never negative. Carrie's Corner is the name. Welcome to the show. High top celebrities bringing in the voice of the community. It ain't gonna stop. And when he start to play the beats, I'ma have to write you up a eulogy 'cause they so hot. And I stay live, and I stay woke when the man trying to keep me on demand. Yeah, DJ B, I'm Beauty, and Dominique Nicole did it again. You understand?
Carrie's Corner will show you just what you are made of. Carrie's Corner will have the music playing through ya. Carrie's Corner will have you sipping on some tea. Carrie's Corner, tell it like it is, you and me. Carrie's Corner, syndicated radio.
Go ahead, Carrie. Tell it like it is, boy. Go ahead, Carrie. Tell it like it is, boy. Go ahead, Carrie. Tell it like it is, boy. Go ahead, Carrie. Tell it like it is, boy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Kerry D. Singleton. This is the Kerry's Corner Radio Show, and it is the month of April. Shout out to all the Aries with April birthdays. Of course, March days are over, but that's fine. We'll be back next year. Shout out to all the Aries. The March Aries, where our season is over, so it's time for the April Aries to take over the reign of thing. But as far as I'm concerned, it's all good. As long as the Rams are in season, it's a very good thing. As long as it's spring as opposed to winter, it's always a great thing. And I like April because other than the fact that my allergies come and my nose is running and things of that nature, the sun comes, the days are longer, and it's almost time to take off those hoodies, put on those t-shirts, and take off other things to get comfortable. Coney Island's even already open. I'm like, wow. Like, what's that all about? Coney Island. Is it a little too cold to be playing in the Atlantic Ocean at this? I'm just, no. What do you think, Paul?
It's always a good day to get a glizzy.
I don't know what a glizzy means.
To get a glizzy.
A hot dog.
Or other things.
Don't they have that at the Nathan's down there at Coney Island?
I don't do Nathan's. I don't eat beef or pork, so I don't. But yeah, I guess Nathan's is open year round though. I think they're open like in the dead of winter. I don't know. Dre, you would know. You like food. Is Nathan's is open?
Yeah, Nathan's is year round.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Surprisingly, even after surviving that hurricane.
Well, people like hot dogs, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, Carrie, I've never been to Coney Island before. Am I missing out?
You know what? I'll say this. So during the day, it's all amusements and fun. Well, this is the last time that I went. It's all amusements and fun and rides and cotton candy. And then at night, it's more like a party vibe. So it's cool. How many big cities have amusement parks within their borders?
Maybe you and me can go one time together.
Oh, look.
That actually is also.
Yeah, I go in August. Like it's got to be super hot. Because I don't do the cold, so it's got to be.
Of course,
it's got to be super, super hot for me to go to CI. But it's cool. It's always interesting to watch the people wearing stuff that they shouldn't be, like the 375 woman that's wearing a two-piece or a one-piece, or the 575-pound man that's wearing.
Or like you in a Speedo.
If he could, he would.
I plan to, but shut up, Paul. My mother's in the studio. And now she gets to see what kind of personality you really have, right? But anyway, April is here. And on April 1st, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. 10 years of the Carrie's Corner Radio Show at Stewart Cinema and Cafe in Brooklyn, New York. The house was packed. No seats were available. It was standing room only.
It got good. We love it.
And shout out to every single person who came out because I appreciate that. We had people coming from Philadelphia. We had people coming from Boston. We had people coming. One person came from Atlanta.
Ooh.
That's a long trip.
Right.
Yeah, that's a truck.
Yeah, I feel bad for getting cheap champagne. If I had known he was going to come from Atlanta, I'd at least got him well, he had Hennessy wings at BBQs, so I guess he was fine. I don't know. But I want to shout out every single person that came out. The weather wasn't great towards the end, and people stayed and wanted to hang out. But we had a great time, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But shout out to Little Nat, our host. She did an awesome job. I also received from Dr. Reba Perry, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago. She's been on the show several times. The President's Lifetime Achievement Award. We have it in the studio. My mother's very proud. Our director of photography, Michael Catlow Cox, will be getting his President's Lifetime Achievement Award on the 23rd, right, bro? Out in Queens. So congratulations to him for that.
An awesome award.
Yeah. I want to say, though, as I think I said at the event on April 1st, I'm accepting my Lifetime Achievement Award where it relates to the radio show on behalf of the entire radio show, because I couldn't do this by myself. So Paul, Kevon, Dre, Allison, DJ Just in Time, Gordon, you guys, I'm not leaving you out, Mr. Cox, because you're getting your own damn award. But yeah, this is our achievement in terms of what the radio show represents. I received the award for a lifetime of achievements, but because one of those achievements is clearly this radio show, I want to extend that to you guys. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is our achievement.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, we had a great time. Many guests joined us for dinner afterwards at a restaurant in Brooklyn. BBQs wasn't my choice. I will say this. Julia Robertson loves BBQs. It was her choice. And I will say this. Although I love the fried chicken when they make it the way that I like it, right. Julia likes it. People don't know this. Julia always picked BBQs. It's not because of the food. I think most New York City residents really don't go to BBQs for the food. They go for the Texas drinks.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that big, you know what I mean?
Drinks.
With the bottle of Hennessy along with the shot. It's just, yeah, that's what they really got. Because you have to understand, BBQ's menus on a placemat. Nobody really goes there for food.
It's decent food.
Yeah, it's decent food.
You're about
right.
The
it's
drinks.
not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's about
So we had a great time. Lots of people joined us afterwards for the fried chicken. Well, that's what I had. I don't know what everybody else had. I did bring the cake because I know we didn't get to cut the cake at the at the movie theater. I did bring the cake. Sorry, Kevon and Mr. Cox, Gordon and Dre, but we cut the cake at BBQ's. So sorry. Anyway, but I had a piece of the cake this morning for breakfast. I don't know if it was because it was cold, hard, or both, but it was. Yeah. I'm just saying, Dre.
No.
If you keep it room temperature, the cake will be better. I don't like cold cake. Maybe cold cakes, but not cold cake.
Yeah, no, not in the fridge overnight. No.
Yeah. Well, it's a couple nights, so. But it was great. And as far as the documentary itself, Carrie's Corner, a decade behind the mic, it's now on YouTube, so you all can watch it on the YouTube channel, on the Carrie's Corner Radio Show YouTube channel.
Yeah,
you can watch it. I want to say something though before I move on. And am I running low on time? No.
No,
Yes?
you got
Okay.
6 minutes.
Okay, 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Anyway, as I watched the documentary, which I know you guys, you all have any. Well, Paul was the only one that he couldn't make it, so I have a feeling that none of you all have watched it except for on the movie theater at the cinema, right? Somebody asked me, I don't know if it was asked at the theater but somebody asked me what was my favorite part of the film.
Okay.
And I have to say, Kevon, your part really touched me.
Wow.
Like I almost teared up, but I couldn't because there were friends and family in the building. But it was really cool. So for those of you all that haven't seen the film, well, first of all, just go see it. Right. But the point is, Kevon was the one person on the team that was selected to speak because we ran out of time in filming. We were super late. Everybody on the team was supposed to be interviewed, but the day that Quay came in to interview, he interviewed Kevon, and then he had to leave. So
Quay spoke with me, and I spoke from the heart.
Yeah.
And,
So
I didn't let Kerry sit in and listen.
Exactly. So Kevon actually asked me to sit outside of the studio because, and I quote, "What you said? I make you nervous?"
Right. I was like, "You're making me nervous. You might change. You might affect what I might say. I didn't want that."
I wasn't gonna say anything though.
You'd say it with your eyes. I know you. I couldn't have it.
He was like, "Get out!" So yeah, but that was cool, man. You really, I appreciate that.
Thank
I
you.
can't help but notice that you're wearing your hoodie from the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Yeah.
My mom wore her a jacket. Remember, we went to DC and I bought her a jacket. I was trying to figure out. She wore a jacket yesterday.
Awesome
So
hoodie.
you two were twinning, but she would never wear the hat that you have. Although I love mine.
Oh yeah,
But
this is awesome hat.
Yeah, she would never wear that. Yankees and Mets and things of that nature.
I love that New York unity.
Okay, so this week, you guys, we also join WCCZDB. That's a lot. Radio. We joined their family in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I didn't even know the state of Tennessee had two different time zones.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, they do. Anyway, so we'll be joining them beginning Friday, this Friday coming up. At 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will be able to listen to the Kerry's Corner Radio Show. I think that is our 10th syndicated network.
Hey, 10
Nice.
for 10. We like
Yeah, 10
this.
for 10. 10 years for 10, yeah. So shout out to Damon Ritchie and everybody at WCCZ in Chattanooga. That's a tongue twister. I hope I don't have to say that every week. That's a lot. That's too much. The new issue of Intrigue magazine is out. Make sure you guys pick up the March-April 2023 issue featuring stories on Cult Jam, Hot Tracks, filmmaker Aziz Sarhan, and of course our friend of the show, actor and author Renrick Palmer. Go to intriguemagazine.com for your hard copies and your digital copies as well. Make sure you link up with our YouTube channel, please, people. Please follow us on YouTube, please. We're starving on YouTube. Okay. All right. Question or Kerry's conversation moment of the day. I wanted to say what was the best moment that you had at the event, but Paul couldn't make it, so we didn't want to leave the Italian stallion out. So instead, who is your?
Lord.
Well, everybody now knows you that because that's how I introduced you. The
Thank you.
Such
That's
a
really
fun
kind.
Italian stallion, yeah, like Rocky or something. I don't know. Who is your most memorable Kerry's Corner guest? Now, not all of us have been here for 10 years. In fact, none of us, except myself, have been here for 10 years. Mr. C and DJ Justin Time have been on the show for 9. But, yeah, you guys with microphones haven't been on as long. So we'll start with you, Dre. Keep it cute, please. We have a young lady in the room. So, yeah.
Okay, so just keep brief.
Who was your most memorable Kerry's Corner guest?
I'll be honest, that's a hard one because it's a few of them, but to keep it brief, I'm not trying to play favorites, but believe it or not, Evie Zamora and Suzanne Christine.
Yes, Suzanne Christine from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a friend of our guest, Mike Africa Jr. And Easy Zamora came all the way from the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city of Toronto, Canada, and she's dope. So shout out to her. Those are two people that can really sing.
Yeah,
absolutely. So shout out to them. Paul Dorsa, who is your most memorable Kerry's Corner guest?
This is really a tough one, I feel like.
Yeah, but I gave you the questions last night. This morning, you guys had plenty of time to think about it.
I know, but let me finish. We've had so many great guests on the show,
Yes.
and so everyone has been always so nice.
No,
And
that's not true, but go ahead.
at least I think so.
Well, maybe since you've been on the show. But
Since I've been here,
yeah, we've had two rappers
But-
that were really, needed to, they were kicked out of the studio. But that's
it's
another
tough
story.
to say. I would probably say like maybe one of the most talented that we had was Humphrey Bogart. He was like really, his bars were crazy. But probably one of the nicest guys that we've had on the show was Cecil Wade. I don't know. I loved his smile and his energy.
You loved his smile. The dude lifts weights. Why were you looking at his smile?
Well, I mean, he was just a nice
He
guy.
does have a big smile,
He
though.
had a nice big smile, and he was
Yeah.
always friendly when he
Yeah.
came on the show.
He's
so
a good dude. Yeah, okay.
I'll do 2 as well.
Okay. That's fair. Shout out to Cecil.
There's so many honorable mentions.
Actually,
that I
Humphrey
can't even-
Bogart came to the event on Saturday. He was in the building all the way
Taste,
from Connecticut.
That's fire. Shout out to him.
Yeah, people just Boston, Central Massachusetts, Connecticut, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Jersey. Well, Jersey's not far, but we had like a lot of dope people. Okay, Kevon Merrill, Mr. Nice Guy.
Yes, sir.
Mr. I love everybody. I swear you're the nicest person I've ever met in my life, and you should be the poster boy for New York, since people think that we're all rude. Who is your most memorable Kerry's Corner guest? I know you are not shaking your head, Mike Africa, because you are from Philadelphia, and Philadelphians make us look like real nice people. Please,
Like real nice people.
yeah. I've been to Max's. Anyway, Kevon, who was your most memorable guest?
So y'all said a lot of really nice ones. I like Cecil. That was a really good, nice pull. He was definitely super fun with the workouts, all that. I'm gonna say when we had Trey the BK Chef on.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was so
Rest in peace.
awesome. Rest
Yeah,
in peace
yeah.
to that brother, because
Yeah.
he is an amazing chef. Just
Yeah.
the skill. He showed us the ribs with the chicken sandwiches.
Still
that were-
remembers the damn menu.
Yep, with the chicken sandwiches, the roast chicken sandwiches with the, I think it was arugula, all the...
Damn, brother!
Like the homemade bread, the ciabatta bread is what it was. I didn't have the mac and cheese because I don't like cheese like that, but that menu.
It was Trey your favorite guest or Trey's menu?
Trey was
I don't
awesome.
remember the entire. Rest in peace to Trey. Like, I was really hurt when he passed away last year. That was a really good dude, and he came in and he always definitely treated us well. And clearly, he treated your stomach well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why am I not surprised that your favorite guest is a chef? Mr. Michael Catlow Cox has been on the Kerry's Corner radio show for 9 of the 10 years. You've been tolerating my shenanigans and definitely contributing your own shenanigans to the radio show. Who the hell was your most memorable guest? And please remember that my mother is in the studio and she thinks the world of you.
Yes, well, I have two, really. One is Miss Troy
Okay.
and Melissa Morgan.
Okay.
Especially when she sang happy birthday to me on my birthday.
That was that was a
That was
moment.
dope.
That was a moment. That was
it
dope.
was.
That was
Yes.
dope. Okay. Okay. Can we include phone-ins? I guess that's still a guest, right? So so you guys, Kevon, Gordon, Paul, and Dre, you weren't here, but Mr. Cox might remember. Well, well, two guests, all right, two. Number one, well, damn, there's a couple. Well, Melba Moore, number one, was one of my favorites.
Okay, yeah.
Damn, that's a lot.
Documentary for more.
Damn, Melba Moore was one of my favorites. High Five was one of my favorites. The Ladies of Sky. This is going to get really long. Melissa Morgan. Obviously, one of my favorite interviews was with Eddie Levert Sr. But if I have to really say in terms of like fun for me, was Anthony Thomas. So Anthony Thomas is the choreographer for Rhythm Nation. He did all the Rhythm Nation videos.
Okay, yeah, I see.
You know, All Right, Rhythm Nation, all those videos from Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation album, and he also choreographed and toured with her during the Rhythm Nation tour. So I got to meet him in LA and had breakfast with him, and then he actually was a guest on our show, and that was a dope experience because I got to ask him all kinds of questions about what it was like to work with Janet and blah 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 blah. So yeah, that was probably my favorite. I don't want to have favorites, but yeah, because there's been a lot of favorites, and I guess Canna Kitchen was pretty interesting.
That
The
was
young ladies that came in and made weed food, and I got high. And Paul, what happened when I got home? Because you like to talk about it.
I don't want to.
Yeah, just say it.
He cried.
Yeah, I cried.
Yeah,
distinct
shout out
memories.
to Cat
Yeah.
and Kitchen. Hope we get to see them
I
again
cried,
real
yeah.
soon.
I won't cry this time. Anyway, you guys, that's enough. Let's get into this New Jack segment here on Kerry's Corner, your new home for throwbacks and New Jacks.
Hey yo, what's happening? This your boy 5 Mics. Anytime I'm looking for great entertainment or the latest scoop on the music industry, I pick up Intrigue magazine. Cause everything I read in is so intriguing. Don't believe me? Then find out on your own. IntrigueMagazine.com, where reading is a pleasure.
And now it's time for those exclusive New Jack joints right here on Kerry's Corner, your new home for throwbacks and New Jacks.
Hey, Carrie's Corner, happy 10 years. 10-year anniversary from your girl, Christina Soul of Cult Jam.
I'm Mike from Cult Jam. Yo, Kerry's Corner, 10 years working it, making the scene happen. Thank you.
Sean Rivera from As Yet, wishing Kerry's Corner Radio Show a happy 10th anniversary.
When we first met, we had a thing that was effortless. So much of I knew we were two of a kind. One look in your eyes tells me every little thing you have in mind. Let's go somewhere private where we can unwind, 'cause I've got something planned for us tonight. Put it where you want it, babe. Put it where you want it, babe. Put it where you need it. Beat it up and beat it, and I'll rinse it and repeat it, babe. Rinse it and repeat it, babe. Tickle it and tease it. Girl, you're undefeated. I'ma put it where you want it, babe. Keep it where you need it. Beat it up and need it, then I'll rinse it and repeat it, babe. Tickle it and repeat it, babe. Tickle it and tease it. Girl, you're undefeated. I'ma get it, 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 get it. I love it when you moan my name, crave it when you show no shame, make me feel some kind of way. Don't you worry about a thing, 'cause I've got something planned for us tonight. Put it where you want it, babe. Put it where you want it, babe. Keep it where you need it. Beat it up and need it, then I'll rinse it and repeat it, babe. Rinse it and repeat it, babe. Tickle it and tease it. Girl, you're undefeated. I'ma put it where you want it, babe. Keep it where you need it. Keep it where you need it. Beat it up and need it, then I'll rinse it and repeat it, babe. Tickle it and tease it, babe. Tickle it and tease it. Girl, you're undefeated. I'ma get it, 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 get it. I'ma get it, 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 get it. Put it where you want it, babe. Put it where you want it, babe. Keep it where you need it. Beat it up and need it, and I'll rinse it and repeat it, babe. Rinse it and repeat it, babe. Tickle it and tease it. Girl, you're undefeated. I'ma put it where you want it, babe. Keep it where you need it. Beat it up and need it, then I'll rinse it and repeat it, babe. Rinse it and repeat it, babe. Tickle it and tease it. Girl, you're undefeated. I'ma get it, 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 get it. I'ma get it, 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 get it. I love it when you moan my name, crave it when you show no shame, make me feel some kind of way. Don't you worry about a thing. I'ma get it, 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 get it. I'ma get it, 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 get it. Keep it where you need it, baby. Keep it where you need it, baby.
What up, y'all? It's your boy Ray Royale, Mr. I Am R&B. I want to send a special shout out to Kerry's Corner. Happy 10th anniversary. Kerry, you know I love you, man. Let's go.
I still feel lonely sometimes. I still feel lonely. I don't know where love's gone. Got me feeling so alone. Tell me why it feels like you're moving on. Tell me why. Tell me why you gotta be like this. Oh baby, you don't know why. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely sometimes. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely. Even when you're by my side. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely. Even with you by my side. All we do is argue, fuss and fight over dumb things. I just feel like you don't wanna be here with me. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why you gotta be like this. Oh baby, you don't know why, girl. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely sometimes. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely. Without you by my side. Still feel lonely. Without you by my side. Still feel lonely. Still feel lonely sometimes. I still feel even with you by my side. Even when you're not by my side. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely. Even when you're still here, baby. Even when you're laying next to me every day, baby. By my side. I still feel lonely. I still feel lonely. Sometimes. Even with you by my side.
And we're back on the Kerry's Corner Radio Show. Just heard from our New Jack segment. Representing Brooklyn, New York. We got Cult Jam with their brand new single, What Love Can Do. Shout out to them. They came out to the April 1st event. Showed us some Brooklyn love. Sean Rivera, all the way from Philadelphia, formerly of the group As Yet, also came out and showed us much love on April 1st. So shout out to him. His single Giggity, the video is out. Make sure you check it out. That brother's hilarious. He was telling us some stories in the car that you wouldn't believe about some of your favorite artists. Yeah. Wow. And last but not least, all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, shout out to my buddy Ray Royale. He calls that one Lonely, one of my favorite tracks. We got Mike Africa Jr. on the corner, and hopefully you like the music that we're playing in the background.
I'm digging it.
It's kind of. You think maybe you had something to do with that? Because usually we play Janet Jackson during my interview segments, but we switched it up a little bit. I don't know. Just why do you think I might have done that?
Man, listen. 1989.
Yes.
Fight the Power. Public Enemy was, man, they breathed life into the movement in a way that like mainstream hadn't done before. Man, I love listening to him every time I hear him.
And let's be honest, you said that if I didn't play Public Enemy, you wouldn't come to the show.
Hey, listen, because Moni Love had this thing on her Instagram.
Okay.
And it said, the month you were born in is your rap group.
Okay.
And for the month of September, which is the month I was born in,
right,
Public Enemy was right there.
So we had to play Public Enemy.
So I said, yo, that's just so you know. That's what it is.
So first and foremost, I want to thank you for bringing me this dope shirt. I'm very familiar with the shirt. I've seen it as I've gone to many events that the Move organization has put together, particularly here in New York City. I've seen them, and I was like, damn, I want to get one of those shirts. Now I have one that actually fits, although I keep sucking in my stomach because I'm self-conscious. But I think it. Thank you very much, brother.
Of course, man.
Thank you for not bringing me a Stromboli, because I don't like those.
So look,
But the chicken cheesesteak you could have brought me from Max's.
I'm from Philly.
Yep, you are.
And I didn't know that Stromboli
is a
Philly thing.
Yeah, primarily.
I didn't know that water ice.
Yes. My mother loves water ice.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
A lot
and the pretzels. You guys
soft
are famous
pretzels.
for
I didn't know that those were Philly things. I thought that's everybody had that.
Well, everybody has them, but it's like I said, there's some things that like Philly cheesesteaks you can buy in Atlanta, right? But they're damn sure not going to taste like a Philly cheesesteak.
Right.
And I brought a lot of people from New York City and from Boston to Philadelphia, and like I don't see what the big deal is until they go into Max's and they see the cheesesteak is like 2 feet long. You know what I mean? And Kevon, who is the foodie of the show, what do you think about Philly food? Especially our spot up in on Stanton Avenue. Gilbin's, yes.
Philly food is beautiful, delicious, amazing food. The footlongs, the amazing sandwiches. Go to Gilbin's.
Yes.
Eat everything there. Go to Max's.
Yeah, your mother's gotten pissed off when you've gone to Philly and not brought her stuff back.
Yeah. And those are like the more popular spots.
Yeah.
But the best ones
Oh, so wait a minute. We'll have this conversation. Wait, because everybody has their own favorite Philly cheesesteak spot. Mine's used to be Max's until I found out about Gilbin's. And the people at Gilbin's are a lot nicer. People at Max's, their food's good, but they're rude as hell. I hate Ishkabibbles. I hate Geno's. No place on South Street. I'm not eating any. What's there's another Chubby's? No. Just I don't like any. So what is your favorite cheesesteak spot?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean I don't really.
I know you don't eat
partake a whole lot in that whole world.
Yeah.
But across the street from Chubby's is a spot called Delisandro's, and they have a line out the door on a cold blizzard day.
And I've been on that line, Mike.
Yeah.
And I hated their food. Now I've been to Delisandro's. I've been to Chubby's. I think most of their stuff is tasteless.
Okay.
Max's, their food is probably very unhealthy.
So my friend Tommy Oliver, who directed the film, he loves Max's. He's a Philly guy too.
Yeah.
He's from Philly, born and raised.
Yep.
And he loves Max's.
Max's,
like I said,
I know you don't partake.
A little bit. I mean, every couple years, I might,
Every couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right.
Really,
Delisandro's is your favorite.
Nah. Well, okay, whatever.
Well, I mean, I'm asking you, is it?
No. I mean, I don't. I'd rather make it at home.
See, there it is. The best Philly cheesesteak comes from the home.
best food.
Well, yeah,
comes from home.
Home. Yeah. I agree because my mother makes much better food than any place you could purchase.
There you go.
All right, let's get into this. Let's get into the conversation. First and foremost, your film.
Yes.
My mother and I watched it. The name of it is
40 Years a Prisoner.
My mother and I watched it on HBO Max last night. It was my second time watching it. It's something to be said about watching a movie twice.
Yeah.
Usually I don't do that, but I wanted to, have a refresher.
Yeah.
First of all, how was you approached about making the film?
So Ramona Africa.
Yes. Who's been on the show?
Yeah. I heard she was on the show.
Yeah.
She introduced me to Tommy Oliver.
Okay.
Tommy Oliver is a film director, and he's mostly a producer, but he's a director too.
Okay.
And he did a film called The Perfect Guy with Sanaa Lathan and Morris Chestnut. And
okay.
He had done a couple other movies with like Lala Anthony called 1984 or something. And he wants to make this move film.
Okay.
She introduced me to him. She said, she told me, she's known me since I was a baby, right?
Right, of course.
And she was like, Michael, she said, I want to introduce you to Tommy Oliver. She said, he wanted to make a movie about Move. I said, another one of those, huh?
Right, exactly. Because I was going to say, did Tommy want to make a movie about Move, or did Tommy want to make a movie about Mike?
He wanted to make a movie about Move.
Okay.
The Move story.
Right, okay.
And
Jason Osder already had done that.
Jason Osder made a documentary about the bombing.
Right, exactly.
Let the Fire burn.
Right, which I watched, and I have at home.
Did an amazing job.
Yeah. But this guy wanted to do another one.
He wanted to make a movie about Move, the entire organization in depth.
Okay.
And a little bit more expansive.
Got you.
And Ramona said to me, she said, you'll like him.
Okay.
And I'm just thinking like, okay, I mean,
Okay.
So when Tommy and I started talking, it was almost as if we've known each other for a long time, years.
Yeah.
And then as we continue the conversation, he called me one day. He said, Mike, he said, this story is really about your work.
Yeah.
Because as he's following me around to see what I do, all I do is try to get the people out of prison.
Right.
I'm digging through files. I'm meeting with lawyers. I'm meeting with street organizers, trying to find a way to get those people out of prison.
Right.
Specifically, my parents are,
Right.
And then all the other, my Uncle Chuck. And so it was just so many, it's 8 people still alive.
Right.
And he said, this story is taking me in another direction.
Yeah.
And I say, well, what do you want to do? He said, well, I really want to follow you for this so that people can see your dedication and what you do.
I was going to ask you, so initially, I'm assuming since Mr. Oliver approached Ramona would have been involved initially, no? Or yes? Because, I mean, it turned out that the story wasn't even about the other Move members. It was about your journey.
Well, see, here's the thing. A lot of people see Ramona like her as a face of the organization.
Correct, right.
But I've actually been a Move member longer than Ramona.
Right, that's true.
Ramona wasn't around in 1978.
She wasn't, that's correct.
She didn't become a member until like early 80s.
80s, yeah.
And she didn't. The way that she got involved with the organization is because Pam Africa.
Shout out to Pam.
Pam Africa
Yeah.
saw her at somewhere down the City Hall area.
City Hall, yeah.
And Ramona was talking about how she wanted to be a lawyer.
Right, exactly.
And Pam told her, if you want to be a lawyer, why don't you go check out what law looks like in America?
Exactly.
The hanging and illegal sentencing of the Move 9.
Right.
So Ramona went and checked it out.
Right.
And she saw my parents on trial
Wow.
and how they were getting railroaded in court.
Right.
That's how Ramona got
That's it,
involved.
right. Yeah, you've been a Move member since you were born. You were born.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you actually have 3 interview segments on this show, and that's only because I couldn't fit 5 in. So we have a lot to talk about. But so he follows you. He must have been following you for a while. Because obviously, in the beginning of the documentary, you're fighting for the release of the other Move members and your parents. But then, of course, I don't want to give the spoiler, but it's a happy ending. So, how long did Mr. Oliver follow you, and what was that like? It had to have been emotional, Mike. You had a camera in front of your face all the time, like while you're going through your. That's a lot, brother.
I mean, I'm a Move member.
Yeah.
And I've had a camera in my face for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. You're used to
better a camera than a fist.
Yeah, or
you know
worse.
What I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
look,
yeah.
I'm from the '80s, man,
Mm-hmm.
and in the '80s, dreadlocks weren't popular.
Exactly.
We didn't know who Bob Marley was in
That's right.
1980 in Philly. Like, he wasn't really popular yet.
Right. Exactly.
And Jumpin' Jack Flash, we didn't see Whoopi, so
Right.
Move was like people's introduction to dreadlocks.
Exactly.
And when I went to school, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm used to being in this, like, kind of spotlight.
Right.
But
Got
for a
you.
lot of negative reasons.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
But when the camera came and it's going to shine a positive light, not
Right.
even with the intention of making it look a certain way,
Right,
but just
right.
following me around
Right.
to see what I do and what I'm about.
So
that was easy.
So what was it like for you to have to be followed, though? I mean, because you had to have had your moments where you were struggling, where you didn't know whether your parents were coming home or not. So did you ever feel like, you know what, maybe we need to turn this camera off?
No. Keep the camera rolling, so the people can see what it is
Okay.
in its rawest form, in its realest form. Is cut for what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just let it roll.
When you went back to the Pennsylvania State Correctional Facility, I use that term lightly, where you were born, and your mother's cell, what was that like for you, brother?
So that's a really interesting moment. Like, I was born in a jail cell.
Right.
And to actually go back to the jail cell that I was born in, I heard so many stories about that place.
Yeah.
And I mean, from different people,
Right.
from not only from my parents and other Move members, but also a lot of other people who are just friends of the family.
Right.
And they told me all these different stories. They gave me different descriptions of that place. It felt like when I actually went to that building and was walking through the corridor with the different cells, and I could see the cell bars and the doors and the inhumane treatment, the feel, the smell. It was so familiar to me.
Wow, really?
It was as if I was there before. I mean, I know I was.
But you wasn't, yeah.
But I don't remember it.
Right.
But I guess my body and my mind and my soul has like some kind of recognition of it.
Yeah.
So like going back to that place, to that cell that I was born in, to know that this is where my mother gave birth on this iron cot.
Yeah.
It was surreal.
Yeah.
It was
I was going to
surreal.
ask you, when you laid down on the cot, was that the specific cot that your mother was on?
I asked the guard, were these cots changed since 1978? He said they were not.
Wow.
The same window where she would have gotten ventilation.
Wow.
Everything was the same.
So let me flip this, and I didn't even think I would ask anything like this, right? When your mom, because clearly I'm assuming your mother has seen the film, when she saw you in that cell, what was that like for her?
For the people out there that intend to watch 40 Years a Prisoner, bring a box of tissues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it was like for her
Yeah.
the whole time, watching this thing happen. But it was also like she was reminiscing as this thing was going on too. She lived in that cell with other Move sisters for 3 years.
Right.
And so like to see it and go back to that place for Move, jail was not there's a difference between jail and prison.
Yeah, there is.
All right.
Actually,
jail is different than prison.
Right.
In the jail, they're close to home. They get a lot of visits.
Right.
They pretty much ran the joint.
Right.
So it was very like family oriented. And so it was different. So she remembers a lot of good times in those days.
So I need to be corrected. So you weren't born in prison. You were born in jail.
I was born in jail.
Okay, got you. So that wasn't a Pennsylvania State facility. That was Philadelphia County Jail.
It was a Philadelphia County Jail.
Got you. Okay. Wow. And I got a million questions, but I'm trying to stay in the direction of the film. Because obviously you weren't born when the attack happened in 1978. That sent your parents.
Right. My mother was 8 months pregnant with me at the time.
Right, 8 months. Wow. So when you see, and there's been many books and visuals of the Move House. There's been even some rare instances where they got footage from inside the Move House. What's that feel like when you see pictures and video from inside the Powelton Move House?
So for me, every Move member is a hero.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with them in mind. And,
Okay.
a lot of people idolize Superman and Batman. They want to be all these Spider-Man superheroes, but I want to be like my father.
Right.
I want to be like my mother. I want to
Right.
be like Move People, John
Right.
Africa.
Right.
So for me, I'm just trying to get an understanding of every detail that I can. So it's interesting to me.
Right.
It's like we're going back to King Tut's crypt and
Right.
unlock the
And
secrets
unlocking it, yeah.
to how they built the pyramids or something.
Yeah.
That's how I feel for me. I'm
Right.
moved and like inspired by it.
So because I remember there was one documentary. I guess it must have been Jason Osder's film, "Let It Burn," "Let the Fire Burn."
Let the fire
burn. And I don't know how they got this footage, but they're doing a mock trial.
Yeah.
Delbert is in there. I don't know.
Delbert, Bob, yeah.
That's deep, right? And that's
Yeah.
got to be much deeper for you.
Practice. It's practice. I
Yeah.
mean, no, we did that. That's how
Yeah.
I grew up.
No, but I'm saying watching that footage from inside the Move House, that must have been dope for you to watch.
It was because it's like, I mean, think of who your favorite MC is,
right.
And now you get a chance to watch them create what is about to be the best album they've ever done.
Right. Okay.
Think of Janet Jackson.
Good choice.
Janet Jackson. You can go back in time and see when she created Control.
Right.
And you get all the nooks and crannies of that.
Right.
That's what it's like for me watching my Move family, do these mock trials. I'm looking for ways to understand how I can do that and how I can inspire people the same way they inspire people to revolution.
Okay. Wow. We have a lot more to talk to you about, brother. I tried my damnedest to chop this show up so that we could extract as much interview time as possible. When we come back, we're going to talk about May 13th, 1985 and how that affected you. So I just want you to get prepared. That's where we're going next. In celebration of the Kerry's Corner radio show's 10th anniversary, what we're doing all of April is we're reflecting back on some of our greatest interviews. I was honored to be able to speak with Easy Mo B, who produced for the legendary rappers Craig Mack, of course, Biggie Smalls. He produced tracks for Tupac, and a lot of people don't know that Easy Mo B produced the very last album for Miles Davis before he died. So also in this interview segment that you're going to hear is what I said was one of my favorite interviews of all time. Anthony Thomas, the creator of Rhythm Nation. Mike, as you said, Anthony Thomas was able to give me a lot of those nook and crannies of what it was like to record Janet's album. So we're going to share that here on Kerry's Corner. Let's go.
What we're gonna do right here is go back. Way back. Back into time.
You laid the foundation for the first two artists of Bad Boy. I'm going to ask you, what was it like, though, working with Craig and Biggie in the studio on those early projects?
Together, they ended up on the Flavor in Your Ear remix.
Correct, the remix, yeah.
But separately, they both was built differently.
Mm-hmm.
Biggie, of course, a bit more grimier.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted his stuff to have more of a grimier texture.
Okay.
Craig Mack was all about fun.
Fun, right.
And he's injecting a sense of humor and
Right.
and all of that. So it was fun to work with him.
What was the most memorable, considering that today is March 9th, such a unforgettable day in hip hop history, and my listeners, of course, would like to know what just was it like to be around the Notorious B.I.G.? Because to the rest of us, he's an icon. To you, brother, he was a person that you worked with. Like, what was it like to be on the road with him, to be around him, to be in his essence, to be in his circle? What was that like?
What people don't know is that Biggie was a jokester, man. He had a crazy sense of humor, and he would do things to make you laugh. You never would expect to get this from this laid back dude, from the image. You know, you would think that you have to be scared to approach him. But I can remember when, because I recorded for Pac, and this was during the time when they was both friends.
Correct.
And I have a record to prove that. The Running song.
That you produced.
Not the Eminem remix. There's an Easy Mo B original.
The original version, correct.
On the 1 Million Strong album. And I had gave Pac some beats for Me Against the World. A bunch of different beats we recorded. I don't know how it leaked back to Biggie, so I don't know. I bumped into him up at the label somewhere. I remember we was inside a building, probably up at the label. So he came up next side of me. He was like, "Yo, Mo, man, you know you were supposed to give me them joints, right?" I said, "Yo, what you talking about?" "Them joints you gave Pac, man. You know you were supposed to give me." We just start laughing. You know, I was like, I said, "Yo, come on, man. I know you ain't jealous." He said, "Come on, man. You was supposed to, them joints is fire. You was supposed to give me that." So it just showed the realness in him.
Right. Right.
And I'm glad that I can bring that up, because that proves that was during the time when they really was friends.
Correct.
When he said that at that time, they were cool. When we recorded Running, we were all in the same Studio C in Unique Recording over there on 47th Street.
Exactly. Yep.
Everything was fine, and they was friends. Whatever happened and whatever tumulted, that was that. But
We had a great time, and my mother loved the fact that you did the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with me, man. She loved it. She loved it. She loved it. Thank you so much. That's something that will be replayed forever and a day, I'm sure. So
that's fantastic.
But real quick, so this is what I want to ask you first and foremost. So this is a question I didn't get to ask you when we were having breakfast. When you first heard the track for Rhythm Nation, when it was first handed to you, what did you feel when the first time that you heard that song?
Well, I was actually at Flight Time Studios, and
with Jam and Lewis.
With Jam and Lewis,
wow.
And we walked into the studio, and one of the songs that was actually being mixed was The Knowledge.
Okay.
And and so they were playing it back, and it was that real irritating part of the song, the real, that part, and where the keyboard was really strong, and, and I heard them, what's that? So Renee Elizondo had said, he said, Jimmy, why don't you play Rhythm Nation for Anthony? So he goes, okay. So they pulled up the track and sat me back in the right side corner pocket of the studio. And when that beat dropped and that sound came in, and Janet started singing, it was pure. I mean, I hadn't ever experienced or heard anything like that before.
Right.
And I was sitting there, and literally, I was holding back the tears, because I'm thinking to myself, am I going to be a part of this?
Wow.
And it was absolutely overwhelming and emotionally, I was just overcome emotionally. It was just a powerful, very, very strong moment. Surreal.
It was a very innovative song. I mean, you listen, even today, I mean, there haven't been, it has a sound of all of its own. I mean, even on the Rhythm Nation album, it stands out musically. It's definitely a standalone single. So what was it like working with Janet Jackson for the video and the tour for Rhythm Nation?
Well, she's a lot of fun to work with, and I tell this to people, in rehearsals, you don't really see the finished version of Janet Jackson.
Okay.
When she's rehearsing. You see, I mean, she's very studied, very focused, very disciplined, but she probably only goes like 40%. Wow. And then when it comes to filming or stage, I mean, she's full blast, and you go, oh my gosh. But it was really intense. We had a lot of fun times, sporadically, and we just really clicked. Our chemistry worked really well.
Now, for my next number, I'd like to return to the.
Hey, it's Mike Shannon, and you're listening to Club Classics on Kerry's Corner.
Get the point? Good. Let's dance.
free. You said don't take long, the feeling that you feel is so strong. I said I understand, I wouldn't keep you waiting too long. Ooh, I'd like to squeeze you, hold you, let's get it on. Tonight's the night of our desire. I wanna squeeze you, hold you, all night long, girl. With every kiss I take you higher. Soon as I got there, girl, you rushed me up the stairs. I took a deep breath, the scent of love was in the air. Never in my life had I been excited so much. Oh, my body trembled, ooh girl, with your every touch. Ooh, I'd like to squeeze you, hold you, let's get it on. Tonight's the night I desire. I wanna squeeze you, hold you, all night long, girl. With every kiss I take.
And we just came out of a Club Classics mix. What song was that we just came out of? Stomp by the Brothers Johnson. Good Lord, those some bad brothers. Shout out to Quincy Jones for bringing those two to the forefront. Anyway, Mike and I was having a great time taking pictures with my Kerry's Corner action figure. Kevon's mother loves to call it a doll. And you know else? You know who else constantly beats me over the head saying that it's not an action figure, it's a doll? Curtis's girlfriend? What's her name? The Philadelphian, right? Kevon, Curtis's girlfriend. You don't have a mic on, brother. Well, anyway, yeah, but she's from Philly. She's always like, it's a doll, it's a doll. I'm like, yeah, but sisterly affection. Yeah. Anyway, back to whose phone is that? Yeah. May 13th, 1985, brother. So let me just say this before we start. Paul and Kevon and myself produced a show called Sessions Cafe. Our first interview was with oh God, I'm having a brain freeze.
First interview was with Andino Ward.
Andino Ward, yes. Mr. Cox, can you help her turn that off, please? And so that's when I was able to introduce Paul and Kevon to May 13th and move. The bombing. I don't want to say move. We went to Osage Avenue. We got footage. We spoke to Andino in the park. Of course, that was a horrible day. Not just for your family, but in my opinion, for the world. And I don't know. There's no really easy way. How did that affect you? Because at that point, you were how old?
I was 6 years old.
Okay.
The darkest day in Philadelphia history.
Right.
Darkest day of my life.
So I know you, at that point you were living with your grandmother.
Right.
And your grandmother, I know, in West Philly though. How far away from you? How far away were you living from 62nd and Osage?
I was living about a little over 4 miles.
Okay.
And from my house, I could see the smoke.
Okay.
Like billowing up into the sky. I mean, it turned day into night.
What was your relationship to the people inside, just so that we can get context? I know, but what was the relationship to the your Move family inside and yourself? Like, had you spent time with the kids in the house? Because I know that you were much younger than most of them, right?
Yeah, so the Move organization was founded by John Africa.
Yep.
John Africa is my great uncle.
Right.
My grandmother's older brother.
Right.
And the house that was attacked and bombed in '85 was owned by my great aunt.
Correct.
Louise James.
Yeah.
Probably half of the organization was my blood family.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. A lot of people don't know that.
Both my parents. I didn't join the organization. Like a lot of members in the '70s, they joined the organization because they had like health issues or fertility issues, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That wasn't me. I was born into the organization through, my parents, and they all came. They are all like kind of founding members of the organization.
Because at one point your grandmother was a Move member.
My grandmother was a Move member. Yep.
As well as your great aunt.
As well as
Louise.
my great aunt. Yep.
Yeah.
She was the Minister of Communication and Information
Wow.
for the organization. And so but everybody wasn't related.
Right.
So like, but the way the city treated us was like we're all one unit.
Right.
So when the police would like attack Move members, they didn't differentiate.
Right.
It was, these are Move kids.
Right.
Or these are adults. No, it don't matter.
Right.
They're all enemy combatants.
Whether they lived in Chester,
whether they
or
lived
West Philly,
whether
or
they lived in
Richmond,
Rochester, New York,
or Richmond, right? Yeah, exactly.
Or
right.
Philadelphia,
right.
Whether they're 7 years old or 27 years old,
right?
They were all treated the same by the administration. Rizzo, there's footage of him saying that the police will be in there to drag them out by the backs of their necks. No question about that. Children or not, right?
Yep, right.
So on May 13th was a culmination of what happened in August of 1978.
Right.
In 78, when the police stormed the house and raided and arrested the people and gave 10 Move members nearly 1,000 years in prison.
Right.
That didn't stop the organization from its protests about police brutality or animal rights or environmental issues.
Right.
So Rizzo and the police, they said they're going to put a permanent end. And at that point, by then, Mayor Wilson Goode had took the reins as in Philadelphia.
Correct.
And he made a promise that he was going to put a permanent end to the organization.
That's interesting because just before he was elected, I remember reading that he made a promise to the Move family that he would assist greatly in giving new trials to the members of Move that were incarcerated. Am I not correct on that?
No, you're right on that.
Yeah.
And I think that he actually genuinely felt that way. Even today, he'll say that the Move 9 never got a fair trial and that the cop was killed by, he believed, was friendly fire.
Right.
But I guess throughout this process, the people that actually run the city of Philadelphia had other plans.
Right, and then we all know that the mayors and presidents and governors don't really run the country, run their states and their cities. They're told what to do. But go ahead.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And so when on May 13th, like I think the problem with Wilson Goode being a black mayor, the Philadelphia's first black mayor,
right.
The real problem was he accepting responsibility for what happened.
Right.
At the end of a bomb. On May 13th, a bomb was dropped, 11 people dead, 5 of them are children.
Right.
And he's making statements like, we had a plan, it was a good plan. If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't change a thing.
Awful that he would say
take full
that.
Responsibility and whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all understand that there's this larger thing that, actually make decisions, but to take responsibility for something like that and be the face of that.
Right.
I think it speaks to his character. That was the last time I talked to Andino Ward.
Mm-hmm.
That was exactly what he said to me.
Mhm.
You know, he felt that Wilson Good failed the people.
Absolutely.
Because he shielded the people that were actually pulling the strings and actually making decisions.
Right.
You're talking about there's a police commissioner out there saying shoot on sight.
Right.
There's a fire commissioner saying let the fire burn.
Right.
While there's children inside trying to escape a burning building, and this first black mayor is watching this happen to a black family, and he says, I accept full responsibility. And because we had a good plan, I wouldn't change a thing.
Right, yeah. When Sambor and Richmond being the fire commissioner and Sambor being the police chief, I don't want to run out of time. So again, because I happen to know that you are blood related, your blood relatives of the founding move members. Do you remember how your Aunt Louise and your grandmother were coping? Because your Aunt Louise lost her son, Frank, right?
Correct.
In that fire. From a family perspective, from a blood family perspective, how did that? Now I understand the move family is as much of a family as a family could be, but the blood component, you know, you guys lost a great uncle.
Yes,
Frank.
Great uncle was John Africa.
Right.
And second cousin was Frank.
So I mean, how did that dynamic
and all of those kids?
Yeah.
I spent 3 years together with them.
Right.
In a different part of the country, where we were trying to escape the confrontational things that were happening in Philly.
Right. I know where about. Yeah, I got you.
And
so you had a bond with those kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to come, we always knew that things were going to get worse. The children, we always knew things were going to get worse.
Wow.
We didn't know they were going to get to the point they got.
Yeah.
But we never had peace.
Yeah.
So there was always this. We had conversations about it. Don't let the cops get you.
Yeah.
You know, any siren.
Right. Wow.
Any siren, the sound of any siren, no matter where I was, I'm running for home.
Right.
Right. And a lot of us were that way.
Right.
So we spent a lot of time together, and then to lose them, it's still unbelievable.
Right.
It's still unbelievable. And I can say with 100% certainty that all of my family members, my grandmother, my aunt, my parents, and everybody else that knew the people, we've still not recovered from
Of course not.
what happened, and
Right.
still haven't really been able to fully wrap our minds around the severity of it.
This is a hard question, Mike, and I understand if it's a little, but you and I have talked. I feel like I can ask you this question. Do you ever feel like what happened at 6221 Osage Avenue, I could have been one of those kids?
Oh, all the time. All the time. And I know I'm not the only one, because I'm not the only move child that didn't get killed
Right.
May 13th.
Right, of course, right.
Right. And so all of us talk about that from time to time. And the children that were in the house August 8th and their first confrontation,
Right.
the only thing that separated what happened with them and the ones that happened in 85 with the bombing was the bomb.
Right.
But the shooting was the
Right,
same.
exactly.
The tear gas was the same. The smoke grenades,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
fire hoses from the fire department.
Yep. Right.
All
You're
of
right.
that was
the cops
the same.
and everything. Yeah.
The only thing that was different was that bomb.
And you know what? Now that you mention that, I mean, rest in peace to Birdie Africa, Michael Ward. He was he wasn't the only one of the kids that was in both of those incidents, because
No. He wasn't in the first one.
Okay.
He wasn't in the first
Wasn't
one.
in the first one. He lived there though. I've seen
He
pictures of
did.
him.
No, he definitely did live there.
Oh, but he got out
when
before.
when we went to our other location,
Right.
our secret location, he was one of the kids that went
Okay,
there.
okay.
I went there after I was born, and my grandmother came and took me out of the jail cell.
Yeah.
I went there down with him
There.
too. Yeah.
Okay.
But I I don't think they weren't in the same ones.
Okay. What about Tommaso?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Gotcha. What do you think that the world should have learned from May 13th?
I think that there's a lot to learn from it. I think one thing that people need to learn from it is that police terror on that level. I mean, any police terror is bad,
Right.
but that level, police shouldn't have the power to access military explosives and use them on the residential neighborhood.
Right. Exactly.
There's no way that they should be shooting armor-piercing anti-tank guns at a house full of people, kids. You know, the fire department used the fire hoses
To attack,
but
not to rescue.
you know, those fire hoses are so powerful, they can shoot 10 stories straight up into the air. And firefighters are actually specifically trained to never use them on buildings that they know people are inside of because it can create a collapse.
I didn't know that.
And yet they used they had 4 of them trained on our house. Not only shooting at the house, but actually shooting at the people in the house.
Wow.
And 10,000 rounds of ammunition in 90 minutes.
Right. And
10,000.
and having to go get more.
And so there's this whole issue. But I think there's another thing that I think people can learn too. Because I don't want people to think that MOVE was just like pristine organization that never did anything wrong. And you know what I'm saying? MOVE did a lot of things wrong too. The organization at the time was 20 years old.
Right.
And there was a lot of figuring things out.
Okay.
People had their own ideas of what revolution was.
Right.
They were also very enraged because they just saw 10 of their members sentenced to nearly 1,000 years in prison for a crime that the judge himself said that he didn't even know if they committed.
Right.
But he still gave them this extremely harsh sentence.
Right.
So there was a lot of outrage and anger. I think the biggest takeaway for me after looking at this whole thing is people need to treat each other better.
Yeah.
They need to
Amen.
treat each other with respect. And that respect doesn't need to stop when you see a person that looks different than you or then looks unusual or
Right.
that you have an idea that this person is a bad person because they're in a uniform.
Right,
I think
right.
people need to treat each other as people, learn to treat people with respect. And I think until that happens, there's always going to be these kind of things, situations, war. People are always going to be fighting each other. If we're not looking at transgender and gay and lesbian people as people and not their sexual orientation, if we're not looking at black people different than white people, as long as we're choosing this prejudicial mindset to gauge how we treat people, we're always going to have war. I don't like you because you're a Christian. This guy over here is a Muslim. He's got the thing, and I don't trust Muslims. You know, this person's a Mexican, that person's Puerto Rican, but they're all people.
Right.
And we need to treat each other with respect.
Before we go into our next interview mix, I do have one question that just popped into my head that my mother and I were talking about this yesterday, right? West Philadelphia versus Waco. Why is it that most people know about what happened in Waco, Texas, but very few people, relatively speaking, know about what happened in West Philadelphia in 1985?
I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is because the people that got killed on May 13th were black.
Okay.
That's the real thing. I think also, too, is because after what happened on August 8th, there was a specific decision made not to have a press box where the press could broadcast as much.
Okay.
And on August 8th, there's so many different camera angles of what happened that day. You got the beating of Delbert caught on tape.
Right.
But you've never seen any footage of MOVE children shot in the back alley of the house.
Exactly.
That's because they specifically had orders. You can only be in this spot. You can't just be roaming around. People that were getting too close to the scene on May 13th were being arrested.
I remember
and relocated in different parts of the
you
city.
couldn't get too close to
and some people were taken to jail.
Wow.
Because there was a specific... They had a specific plan to keep this thing as quiet as possible.
Right.
Definitely partially because they were black.
Wow.
Secondly, I think we were in a different time.
Okay.
If you look at the footage from 1978 to 1985, a lot of the August 8th, 78 footage is black and white.
Right, of course.
A lot of the stuff in 1985 is color.
Right.
There was more cameras. It was easier to access certain things and all of that. That's part of it too. But also, I think a lot of it is the belief system. People are afraid to accept what John Africa talks about. This is total revolution. You recognize that the system is polluting the air, but you need air to breathe.
Right.
But who's talking about destroying those nuclear power plants?
Right, exactly.
Nobody.
Right.
No, I shouldn't say that. People are. There's a lot of people, but not enough where it actually happens. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And so to enlighten people with that kind of information or push people to break those things down because they're polluting our air, they're polluting our water, they're polluting the environment. You see what's happening at Keystone Pipeline and right? And they're being attacked and assaulted because the industry wants to create this thing and the people are fighting for their land. So there's all kind of issues around that too. Whereas in Waco, David Koresh was on an ideological mission.
Right, okay.
Was very different. The mission was not the same as take action and fight government the same way. It was not the same.
Right. There was more of a threat from the people in Philadelphia than the people in Texas.
And you can never discount that race thing, man.
Right, of course not.
That thing, they took so long to invade the Branch Davidians. The police took so long to invade them. Whereas on May 13th, nah, they had a plan when they got out there.
Yeah.
They didn't have to send for no C4.
Right.
They brought it with them.
Yeah, that I can't, How can people, when we come back, we got to talk about some other stuff. How can people watch the film? Because I know at this point, I got people around the country and around the world like, I want to see this film. How can people watch the film?
HBO Max. You can watch the film 40 Years a Prisoner. And like I said, bring a box of tissues.
Yeah.
I can't watch it.
Yeah.
I saw it a couple times just, reviewing it, but I can't watch it. But bring a box of tissues, you will not be disappointed.
Yeah. Disappointed in the country, maybe, and the government, if you believe in that sort of thing. But
it's so my mother and Move, we all had the John Africa gave different people titles for their skill set in the organization.
Okay.
Right. Some people were Minister of Defense,
right.
Minister of Confrontation, Minister of Communications, whatever. And my mom, I asked my mom. I said, Mom, what do you think he would have gave me? She said he would have definitely given you a special title. I said, what's that? She said, Minister of Education and Inspiration. After all that I've been through, I still smile every day.
That's right.
So like, I know a lot of people like will feel down about certain things, but listen, these are stepping stones that we can use to be better. And that's my thing, man. I want to inspire people to be as best as they can be. And this film is a lot about pain, but it's a lot about triumph too.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I didn't want to tell my mother what was going to happen because I wanted her to really watch. And I'm going to be honest, she was cooking some delicious food, and she said, I said, Mom, I'm going to watch this film. I said, I don't want to watch that. I was like, all right. So she said, oh, all right, well, I'll watch it. But midway through the film, I can't watch the rest of this. But I watched her. She was doing the dishes because she insisted on doing the dishes. Not that I allowed my mother to do the dishes. She couldn't keep her eye. She couldn't turn away. And the ending of the story, not the ending of the movie is so beautiful and so just. But I don't want to be a spoiler.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into this next interview segment. So, in the next interview segment, we're talking about the best interviews or our favorite guests or the most memorable guests. In this interview segment, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of interviewing the legendary Melba Moore, who actually came into the studio and told me, yes, I'm proud, I'm going to say this every day that I can breathe, I gave her one of the best interviews she's ever had. Remember Mr. Cox? You was there. And, of course, another very, very memorable and emotional conversation I had with Eddie Levert Sr. Why was it emotional? Because although I tried my best, and I remember Mr. Cox saying, what I was not going to do is bring up his sons, Sean and Gerald. But I remember talking about some topic, and he deviated to talking about his sons at length. You won't hear that part of the interview, unfortunately. And I feel like at the end of the day, it was very therapeutic for him to talk about his sons. And it was an honor to have this brother on the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my interview with Melba Moore and Eddie Levert Sr. on the Kerry's Corner Radio Show Throwbacks. Your music is timeless.
Tonight it feels great.
Yeah, it's timeless.
It's great to look back and realize I've had a wonderful life, lots of good music, good people in my life, and it's still going on. It's good.
Yes. It's an honor to have you on the show, ladies and gentlemen. I have to give a warm Kerry's Corner welcome to the iconic and legendary Miss Melba Moore. Welcome
Thank
to the
you
show.
very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And I was telling everybody, you're putting your makeup on and you're sitting there trying to...
I was just taking the shine off.
Sister, you
I
can't...
had too much glow.
You cannot improve
I wasn't trying
upon
to fix
perfection. Beautiful.
I know you can't fix it, but...
You are still beautiful after
you.
So we're going to talk a little later, but I just want to congratulate you on the topic of the night, or one of the topics of the night, which is Forevermore.
Oh, yes, new CD.
I want to congratulate you on that. We're going to get into that a little later, and of course, we're going to play some music from your new CD. And DJ Just in Time, who's the guy who makes all the mixes here, he told me to say to you, and I quote, his favorite song is, it's an oldie, but classic. I'm His Lady.
Oh, wonderful.
Is his favorite Melba Moore song.
Oh,
so I'm going to ask you a question. I ask a lot of my guests this question. What is your favorite Melba Moore song? If you had to pick one.
Well, I'm not like really a nostalgic person. I'm really happy that other people are. But I like It's My Time Again, which is new.
That's what I'm talking about. So you like the new stuff that reflects your todayness.
Well,
right?
That's what I'm focused on. You know, I put a lot of time and energy in it. We perform it all the time. And I perform the old ones too. Thank God everybody wants them.
Everybody, yes. And I'll just throw this in because I'm in front of you. You Stepped Into My Life is my favorite.
Oh, well,
Melba Moore song.
I love it. Don't get me wrong then.
Yes, of course. But you have so much to choose from.
I'm saying that because sometimes artists get tired of doing the songs or they don't want to hear it anymore.
Right.
No, I don't mean that at all. I'm very happy about the new stuff, but I love the old things.
You just like the fresh stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, you get something new to do
yes.
and you know, get your mind refreshed in your body and your soul, and you know, and I test it on people, you know, because they're not usually too attentive unless they've heard it a zillion times on the radio.
That's true.
So I kind of set them up for it. I said, I'm going to experiment on you. Is it okay? Unfortunately, they love the song. So.
And I know they must because I listened to the CD, you know, thank you. I got my hard copy here.
Yes.
But your wonderful manager, Ron, you know, he gave me a couple of snippets. And I got to listen to the CD, you know, over the past month, and I'm like, wow, it's just your
it's
voice,
good, right?
Your voice is timeless, and your music, and your music, and your music. Man, oh man, Eddie Levert Sr., are you with me, brother?
Yes, yeah, man.
Man,
you know,
listen, you got the
I
whole studio.
I don't usually listen to myself, and it's been such a long time since I listened to those records, and it just brought back a lot of memories, man.
Oh man,
a lot of memories of promotional tours and going around singing with the Commodores and singing with. We're on tour with Gladys Knight now, and so we do those songs every night. So it's just it's so heartwarming to have done some work that has lasted as long as that has, and that they're still around and people still like that music. That's what's so touching about it.
Can I tell you something, sir? You had the whole studio. Nobody was sitting down.
We was in here jamming.
We was in here jamming, dancing, singing your songs. Everybody's. Wow, that song brings me back. I mean, you're legendary, brother, and we're just grateful to have, you know, such an iconic person with us here in the industry. Let's talk about I'm going to run down your accolades really quickly because I have to, because you deserve this. So, I mean, you starred in the movie The Fighting Temptations in 2009.
Yeah.
Of course, the BET Lifetime Achievement Award, long overdue. The I Got Your Back book that you made with your son Gerald back in 2007.
Yes.
That had to have been a beautiful moment, just the whole father-son thing. Of course,
that was, I tell people all the time that was probably one of the highlights of my career, performing with him and doing the Baby Hold On to Me and all the stuff that we did together. You know what I'm saying? And the performance that we did, being on stage with him was like butter, man.
Right.
You know, it's like we just gelled together. We just knew what each other was going to do without even talking about it. And with the OJs, it's a thing that everything is premeditated.
Correct.
So you have to rehearse it.
Right.
You know, where with him that we didn't do it. We just winged it, and it.
Easily one of my favorite interviews, Melba Moore and Eddie LeVert Sr. I guess they brought legendary status to the Kerry's Corner radio show, right? And legitimacy and relevance. We always like that word. Anyway, we're back in the studio with somebody that I've looked up to, even though he's younger than me, for many, 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 many years. Also a former rapper. Do we need to bring that up? Don't worry. I'm not going to ask you to drop.
Oh man,
we don't do that on this show.
You mentioned Suzanne Christine.
Yes, we love her.
We did a song together.
Oh,
inspired by my mother. Called Fly Baby.
Well, where is it? We want to hear it.
I retired as an MC.
Okay, but she's still singing.
She's still singing, and we're gonna get together. Me and her gonna get together soon because we're gonna be talking about some stuff. But yeah. Still out.
Kevon, your first record release party was with Suzanne Christine. She came to New York City. She had a record release party. I don't know why I didn't make it, but Kevon went. He had a great time. Yeah, Suzanne Christine is a friend of the show. We love her. We love her here. She's a good Philadelphian.
And a good person.
What? She's a good Philadelphian. No, she's a sweetheart. 50 years on the move. I got this book. I bought this book from Carlos Africa at an event in Manhattan. I know Carlos was there. Ramona, I think, was there. But it was after some of the Move 9 had came home because that was my first time meeting Janine. Pam was there. Let's talk about this. Now, there's been many, 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 many books written about the Move organization. And I remember hearing at the particular event that I was at that only one had been written by the Move organization. I thought about that. I was like, wow, all the books that I've read have been written by another person's perspective. And it was really interesting to read a book that was authored by the Move organization because I assume you get the most truthful, non-biased history of the organization. Did you have anything to do with that? Did you have anything to do with this book at all?
I didn't have anything to do with 20 years on the move.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anything to do with 25 years on the move.
Right.
But 50 years on the move.
Yeah, did you have...
I
don't know. I feel like I...
co-authored 50 years on the move.
Wow.
And edited 50 years on the move.
Wow.
And with my parents and a few other members of the organization.
So in the process of putting this book together, man, what kind of emotions did you have to go through and what kind of research did you have to go through?
Well, one thing is when you read, if you ever read 20 Years on the Move,
I have 25 at home.
You notice that there's differences from 20 to 25.
Okay.
Certain things that we thought were factual, or certain things that they thought were factual.
Right.
Because I didn't have anything to do with those two.
Right.
But this one, everything in there is factual.
Okay.
And that's a difference because
50
Years on the Move
okay.
is 100% factual. There's nothing in there that needs to be changed, redacted, amended, or anything.
As opposed to the prior editions.
Yes, because the other ones, they were not written by Move either.
Oh, okay.
They were written by a supporter and Move had input.
Okay.
Whereas the other ones were totally written by other people, strangers.
Right, of course, yeah.
So that was the case, and so there were things in there that, you know, but Move did approve them to go out.
Right.
But 50 years on the Move, I'm a Move. I was born in Move, but I'm also a student of the organization too. So I want to know, I want to learn. I'm a historian of the group.
Right.
So if there's something that I don't know or something that I can't prove, I don't say it.
Right.
Right. And so 50 years on the Move is a special labor of love for me.
Okay. Have you ever read any of the numerous books that have been written about Move that weren't authored by Move members at all?
No.
Never.
No, I thought about reading some of them for certain information.
Okay.
But they're all too hard to read.
Okay.
You know, like when I think about like the Move Commission hearings, talking about what happened May 13th, the bombing and all of that.
Right.
The information in there is so gruesome. I can never really read it. So no, I don't.
The first book that I ever read about the Move organization was Burning Down the House. I don't know if that was the first, but that was the first one that I read, and probably read it twice, and this was a while ago. And I think that might have been my introduction to what happened. Although I lived in Philadelphia very briefly when I was a kid with my mom, you know, that was in the 80s, the very early 80s. I didn't know, I was 9. I didn't know anything about any of that, you know. But after reading Burning Down the House, you know, going back to Philadelphia and going to Osage Avenue and then just learning. I actually used to go to Drexel on my own, get this, and get the microfiche.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The old microfiche, and I used to read the newspaper articles that came out. But, I mean, obviously, you know, meeting Ramona Africa when I was in college a couple of years back, and then, of course, you know, talking to other Move members, it's different. It's different to hear the perspective of people that have actually been there. And I'm going to tell you something. When I first met Ramona, she invited me to come to Philly because I was doing a research paper for college. She invited me to come in to interview her. I was actually terrified because everything that I had ever read about Ramona depicted her as this angry woman, and I was like, one of the sweetest women I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perception that a lot of the public may have gotten, that Move family members were angry and just.
Yeah, I think that was another reason why it was kind of hard to read some of the books that were written, because they're so inaccurate when it comes to characterizing the people.
Right.
And you know, I had to take a step back about that too. Like maybe that was their perception,
right,
based on
their experiences.
Right. For me, I grew up. I'm one of the babies. People treat me like a little prince.
Right.
You know, so I don't see Ramona as this wild and crazy, out of control person.
Right.
But you know, some people may have, because every time they saw her, she was yelling about something.
Right. Exactly.
And that could be true.
Right.
I don't want to ignore the other people and what they feel about it, because they had their own experiences too.
Right.
But my experience wasn't that. Right. So, but I also understand that even with that, Ramona, she was, you know, she just watched 9 of her Move brothers and sisters get sentenced to 1,000 years in jail.
Right.
So she's gonna be angry about that, and
Absolutely.
so she's gonna scream about that. So, you know, I think a lot of people. I heard a lot of people. I remember back in the '80s, one of the things that people that were like sympathizers of the organization, the best quote that I've ever heard them say is, if my black self, they said the other word,
right,
expletive, went to jail, I would hope that my family would fight for me as much as Move fight for theirs.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so, you know, but if you're a neighbor and you live near that and you had nothing to do with sentencing them to 1,000 years,
right,
you might not want to live next to people on the bullhorn all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So just trying to understand it from a mature perspective.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can understand. I mean, where I live now, I don't want people on the bullhorn all day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
But
yeah.
I do understand why Move was angry.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, I'm still angry. My
Right.
parents, they didn't kill no cop.
Right.
But, you know, they were sentenced to 100 years in jail each. So, you know, but Ramona, yeah, she was one of the sweetest people, man.
Mhm.
Like, very kind, very generous,
organized,
very, very sweet person.
Yeah. How your parents doing? I know,
My parents,
or better yet, how are you doing now that your parents are home?
What's today? The 3rd.
April.
April. So I don't want to give too much away because for people that want to watch 40 Years of Prison on HBO Max, but I'll tell you what. I asked my dad. I said, Dad, if there's anything that you could have, anything that I could give you, what do you want? After all of that suffering, all that time, if there's anything that I could give you, what do you want? He said, Mike, I want to marry your mom.
Yeah.
I want to marry her like I should have done 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And, so there's this whole story behind that, and now they're about to celebrate their 4-year anniversary in a few days.
That's what's up. Please send them my love.
Most definitely.
Please send them my love. We got 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes? What's Mike Africa Jr. doing today?
Right now, I'm working on building a Move museum.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a 50-year history of the organization.
Right.
And, however you want to say it or play it, bad, good, indifferent.
It happened.
It happened.
Right.
And people need to know about it. Right. And I think that understanding the perspective of Move, the city, and all of these different people that were involved in this thing, there's a lot of people that love Move, a lot of people that hate Move, a lot of Move members that used to be in Move, left Move and say, forget Move.
Yeah. Wow.
That's true. That's real. It's like, Christians, you've been going to church, taking your kids to church. The kids get older. They say, I ain't never going to church again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So this happens.
Right. Exactly.
So right now I'm building a Move museum and I'm collecting Move archival material right now. People are sending me stuff, posters that Phil Africa painted for them when he was in prison in 1998. I got newspaper clippings from Move in 1976. I'm collecting, I actually have. So when the bomb was dropped and the fire burned all of the, everything that was in the house.
Right. And that was the headquarters.
That was the headquarters of Move. A lot of stuff was actually recovered.
Oh, okay.
So I actually have physical copies of burned, charred, Move documents. Some of these documents were evidence that I used to work on the Move 9's case to get them out of prison.
Wow.
And so I'm compiling all of this. I just got this grant from Mellon Bank to support the creating of the Move Activist Archive. So in Philadelphia, that's what I'm doing.
Excellent, brother. You may have to come back on the show so we can do a part 2 because I have look at Paul, he's shaking his head. You might just have to take another trip, and this time bring me a chicken cheesesteak from Gilbin's. But how can people get in contact with you if they just want to support?
Yeah. So yesterday was Delbert Africa. Delbert, if you ever seen the Move footage, Delbert Africa was the brother that was beat by the police.
Right.
He was the one that was kicked so hard they lifted him up in the air and all of that. Right. Yesterday was his. It would have been his 77th birthday.
Right.
And I posted a thing about that on Instagram. That's where where people can get in touch with me. Mostly, I'm always on Instagram. Well, I'm not always on Instagram, but I'm
most accessible.
That's the most accessible. I don't have time
and your
for
Uncle
social
Chuck,
media like that. My Uncle Chuck, same. April 2nd. They were both born on the same day, but just 16 years different.
Wow.
Apart. But his Chuck. Oh, I wish we had more time, but. My Uncle Chuck was the coolest, greatest uncle. I got a lot of uncles, man, but none was like Chuck. Chuck would take for his family. He would fight anybody. He was protective. He was loving. He was just a really, really good person.
You seem to emulate him. From what I've seen, you seem to emulate him.
He's one of my heroes, man.
Yeah.
In Move, there's a lot of people, a lot of members. There's a lot of Supermen.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the one that I chose to pattern myself after, definitely Chuck.
I thought so. Okay.
Definitely Chuck.
Mike Africa Jr. on the Kerry's Corner Radio Show, man. Thank you so very much for spending your time.
Thanks for having me, man. Thank you for having me.
If in 10 more years the question comes up, who is your most memorable Kerry's Corner guest, you would definitely be at the top of that list.
Oh, wow. That's a bit. You just played
absolutely at the top
Eddie
of the
Levert.
Hey, you know,
oh, man, I appreciate that, bro.
You definitely inspired me and touched me, and that doesn't happen every day.
Thanks, bro.
So thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for being a friend on some Golden Girls theme song ish. And right now, we know you like we know you like old school music like me. You don't really rock with the So Andre Jones is gonna hopefully play something that's easy on your ears. Let's go. Hey, this is Kerry D. Singleton from the Kerry's Corner Radio Show, and you are in the mix with our DJ, Andre Jones.
Searching for someone who can share that special love with me. And your eyes have that glow. Could it be your face I see on my computer screen? Need a special girl to share in my computer world. Need astrology. Thanks to my technology. I wanna love you. I wanna love you, baby. I wanna love you. My computer. You know I've been around. From hot sexy mamas to cool prima donnas. Your treasure, oh so rare. Cause it's your face I see on my computer screen. Won't you keep me warm tonight? Such a sweet delight. I will cherish the memory of this night. Yes, I found my computer love. I wanna love you, baby. I wanna love you, my computer.
Hey boy, would you meet me on the roof tonight? I got a surprise.
Andre Jones in the mix.
speak to myself sometimes, and I say, oh my, in a lot of ways you're a lucky guy, and oh, now all you need is a chance to try any love. And in my heart there's a need to shout, dying, screaming, crying, and let me out. There are all those feelings that I want to touch any love. I feel I'm gonna lose my mind. Can anybody tell me just where to find any love, any love, any love? Everyone needs a love, no doubt. Any love, any love, you know. Everybody feels alone without any love. My life, into my life. Every day as I live, I try to think positive, and I pray for someone good to give any love. Love is sweet and so divine. And I can't wait for my love light to shine, to shine. Can anybody tell me where I can find any love, any love, 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 love. Everyone needs a love, no doubt. Any love, any love. Yeah, everybody feels alone without any love.
From the radio to the TV screen, anything you want, whatever me. It's on Gary's Corner. It's on Gary's Corner. He's not up the block or across the street.